What's up, guys? We're just getting started a little bit early here today. We got about 12 seconds before like it officially all starts, but anybody in the chat, go ahead and let me know if there's any sort of issue. Anybody in the chat, good mirroring. All right. Well, into the live stream. This stream, if any, just do Q&A. What's up? Yeah, let me know if there's any questions that you want to go over, questions from the podcast that happened like an hour ago or so, any of that kind of stuff following up. What's up, guys? Snuggy, Trey, Gaming Studio. Hello, all. Morning, Dave. What's up with audio, Snuggy? Clipping, huh? Let's try it. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Is the audio better? Let me try that. 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3. Worst case scenario, we'll just go to like default audio. Better now? Okay, I'm gonna turn on echoing here for just a little bit so that I can actually hear it, because I don't get to use where's where I'm going with it. I'm gonna make one shift over here and turn that off there. Yeah, the time delay might just be YouTube buffering and that kind of stuff. Their streams go in and out depending on what it is. But yeah, what's up, guys? Or what are the questions or topics that you guys want to go on? Hey, what's up? Almost Spec Labs. Thanks for watching podcast. Was it any good? What happened? Do you think a 3D pen is good for prototyping and manufacturing? Not really. I think the 3D printing pen will probably continue to be kind of a crafty sort of a toy, crafty tool. I think there's lots of applications for them, because be able to basically do thermoplastic welding is really useful in a consumer context. But what's up, Justin? Is that right? I'm watching stream go by right here, so I may not catch all of it. Would you give me a feedback on my 3D printing business? I sent you my link. I don't have access to links inside the chat or so, but let me know what's up. Will we be releasing printers on GitHub? No, we won't. Our printers are not designed for folks to use at home. So even though everybody's like, oh, we want to use your 3D printers, you honestly don't, because they're not intended for that purpose, to where they just have, there's no utility in sharing them, because they're so focused on a factory and a swarm of them that sharing them around just isn't useful to anybody, to where we would share the design. We did attempt selling the machines way back when, making a consumer version of the machine way back when, but we killed the project because it just wasn't useful. Customers didn't use it usefully, and there's better machines because companies focus on consumer style printers and that kind of thing. So that was just a more, it's better to let somebody else do other stuff. We run print farms and run print services and software and that kind of thing. And we're pretty good at that. And you have to focus on what you're good at before you start expanding into other things. And making a consumer machine is not something that would be good at, especially in the current state of the market. Alrighty, let's see here. Other questions, what's up? I'm trying to get chat loaded up over here so long as it doesn't cause any sort of audio or buffering issues. Right in the studio, we have a limited Wi-Fi access, and I'm, just I'm refreshing stuff. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Anything that's not hardlined can sometimes have issues. I'm thinking about a product, Dave, I'm thinking about a product that takes a load. Are you guys looking to get some sort of structural filament such as GF or CR loaded? Yeah. I'm not going to say, I don't know when timeline is, but we're working on getting those additional materials in. Teleport's going to start getting, now that Teleport's out and it's operational, and we've crossed the first couple hundred users or so on that. We're going to move from kind of the onboarding, teething sort of phase, and we'll start moving into kind of greater expansion. So Teleport will start getting all kinds of cool capabilities in the new year. All of what those are, I can't say right now. I can say that third-party parts will be added, and then some stuff around photography we're going to get implemented at some point. But beyond that, yeah, the other features I can't speak to too much right at the moment. Are you going to be able to offer filament cheaply after the China tariffs? Our filament's $11 a kilogram right now. Limited availability because everybody bought it out, but $11 a kilogram is already way more competitive than even the Chinese brands as it is. In the new year, Tangled's definitely probably going to get down to the 10. And then if we can if we have time and resources to commit to it, it'll continue to decrease beyond that. We got held up. We had a number of pieces of machinery that didn't integrate reasonably well enough back in September. And then Christmas season started up and we weren't able to continue working on it. So yeah, most of that upgrade got pushed to the new year. Almost Spec Labs. You said not to start a print farm, but what if your end goal is to have a print farm, flexible manufacturing? Do you have any advice? Print farms are fine if you want to operate them. But this is what people don't realize, is that they're like, it's a print farm, it's going to print parts and it's going to be great or whatever it was. But no, they're a job. They're a giant time sink. And if your business is making product, then the more important thing you have to do is design the product and take care of your customers. Since there are resources and are print farms available here, there's no reason to do it yourself because it doesn't make your beer taste better. So 5 years ago, everybody had to build a print farm because there was no good 3D print farm service. I think we've done a lot to help improve that to where there is now a good service so that people can focus on the stuff that's really important, which is the design of the product itself. Because building the print farm is only half the battle. Like that's an expansion of the build it and we will come thing of like, if I have a big enough factory, more people will come here. And that's not true. If you have a better product and more marketing or sales acumen, then more people come. So it's better to focus over there, especially when you're smaller. But then as you get bigger, then a print farm service could become uneconomical to where you could, if you're doing $1 bajillion a year, go ahead and build your own print farm because you can afford to build that system. But look at like Apple and Foxconn. Foxconn makes all the iPhones. Apple designs and markets the iPhones. And Apple is a $3 trillion company, even though they don't make their own phones. And they've never had a reason to make their own phones because the relationship has been beneficial enough and Apple has enough margins in there. Pricing of 3D printed products is really, really off because almost nobody prices stuff appropriately to where they have enough margin to deal with it. Everybody's like, cost of plastic was 50 cents. And, I think I spent about 5 minutes a piece or so. And now I'm going to charge at minimum wage for my time. I'm like, that wasn't a dollar part. That was a $9 part. Pricing is very often off. How do we know where we are on the wait list? Right now, wait list is probably sitting at about 2 to 3 business days. We're getting through people pretty quickly. Not the team's trying to get people onboarded as quickly as possible. But yeah, right now, if you qualify for it to where you have a store that's active and running and that kind of thing, then it's about 2 business days, 2-3 business days, I'm going to say. Here, there's a whole mess because here in the States, we had Thanksgiving. So Thursday, people were gone. We tried to do onboardings on Friday, but a lot of people didn't do onboardings because a lot of the state users, US users, just weren't wanting to work on Black Friday. So we tried to get through some of the backlog there. You might, if you're an international store, you might mark yourself in the notes as an international store, and then we can flag that immediately, and then we know that like, hey, we can set this for an evening onboarding or a Sunday onboarding for us when you're in Tahiti or something like that. Is TPU available at our farm? It's available in production at our farm. It's not available on the Teleport app. Other than Texas, are there any plans to expand to other U.S. facilities? Ohio has a lot of abandoned manufacturing capability. Ohio is really interesting because of that, but Ohio has other issues. Right now, we have we're scoping out about 5 factories inside the States. There's Texas, and then we have one that is closer to East Coast. Probably like, well, actually, I won't discuss that too much, but about 5 factories inside the States and a couple of international. We're trying to get ramped up. We're going to be doing a funding round in the spring to fund that expansion and growth there, because we've crossed milestones in this last year to where we can do that. But like building a bunch of 3D print farms, giant print farms like we do, is expensive, and we can't cash flow them. In the early days, printing is really, really great because you're able to add one machine at a time, so you're able to cash flow it well. But if you once you start getting into the scale where we are, where we have to build a whole factory every time, it's expensive. So it's all sourced from the US. I'm going to assume that's referring to Tangled. Yeah, all of our filaments sourced from the US. The material right now for PLA is sourced from NGO, which is a US company, and their manufacturing is in, I want to say like Missouri or something like that. But yeah, our PLA is entirely US based. Beads come from here. The filament, of course, is made here inside our facility, which is in Idaho. Yeah, it's all US made stuff. If we had a good design but don't want to get into the business part, can we just give you the design and share the profit? I would say that this is basically a teleport. I do think that, yeah, designers should. Is there still no sound? Just saw a pop-up happen. Did it cut out? Somebody let me know if it came back in. Or are we fully out? Check 1, 2. No, I'm getting sound. Okay. But the sharing the profit for the designs, teleport is basically that. To where you can create an Etsy store or a Shopify store, list your items, and then forget about it. Like, you don't have to, if you have a Shopify store, you don't have to do customer support. You need to be transparent with customers that, like, hey, these prints are made by Slant 3D. I don't deal with this. You're going to get what you're going to get, or whatever it was, so that you don't have to deal with it. Then you can effectively post your models and sell the prints of them, but you don't really have to engage with the business part. Now, the question, you'll still have to market it. So if you're a designer with a following, that works. But we are not going to take a model and then pay all the marketing expense and so on and so forth, and basically do all that heavy lifting of starting the business around it. That being said, we understand that there's like a lot of models out there that are just not sold because designers don't want to deal with it. But that's, again, a problem way downstream to be fixed. So yeah, at this moment, you got to use the teleport app and structure it in such a way to where it's not a high lift for you on customer support or marketing. Yeah, you can upload the model. We will print it and ship it straight to your customers for you. That's at slantpod.com. Quick plug. Trey, thanks. Switching to Tangled full time. Hoorah! Here's the thing. We only have black. You can have any color you want, so long as it's black. This is the thing with Tangled. In order to get the pricing down, we keep it very simple and focused. So black is the main color right now. We may add more colors here in the future. We're working on it. But again, it's about production optimization. Okay. Is Slant 3D Print Farm, how do you guys manage the farm? Is it software from another company, or you guys developed your own software? We developed everything. Slant 3D we make our filament. Well, we make a good chunk of our filament. We can't make everything. We make a lot of our filament. We make all of our machines. We make the software that controls machines. We make the systems around it to run it all. We've built the factory from scratch. Everything is us. The reason for that is that nobody else knows how to do it. So every print farm software, when we were starting out, I looked at and we tried and experimented with every single 3D printing software that existed. And we tried rejiggering a couple, we tried optimizing a couple, tried partnering with people. And the problem is that those software companies have no idea what they're doing because they don't have 1,000 printers in the back 40. And we do. So we know what we need, so we just built it. Because, quite frankly, we're the only print farm operating at this scale in this way. Almost every print farm that is successful makes kind of the same part over and over and over again. Like, if you look at like the 3D printed Chinese fidget dragons, that's just a print farm that's making the same fidget dragon over and over again. That's pretty simple to do. Well, it's comparatively simple to do. It's not simple, but it's comparatively simple to do. You can go down and just push buttons on machines. That's fine. But in order to do what we do, where a model comes out of the blue, appears on a machine, and then we have to make sure it goes in the right box, the right customer, so on and so forth, and do that in a speedy amount of time, there are not systems that do that reliably. I've even, well, I don't want to cast aspersions on other companies, but I get feedback about other companies' production software, and they're doing what most companies do, which is they're adding too many features too quickly, and the base product doesn't work beautifully yet. And we kind of happened with this too, like when we did Etsy and then Shopify and then the features within them and so on and so forth. That was expansion of too many things at one time, but we had to experiment because we had no information. Now that we have Teleport is the one and only kind of true print-on-demand software product that we'll be working on. Etsy has stopped new signups. You have to use the Teleport if you're wanting to integrate your Etsy store, and it's better because Teleport is a better system because it's much more condensed and simpler and cleaner and just works better. Onboarding is like 5 minutes. I've been doing onboardings with a lot of folks the last week or so too to help out, and I have been so delighted and so proud of our team because when I go through the onboarding, we do it, and like the word at the end of it is, oh, that was way simpler than I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, yes, we've done our job. That's exactly what we wanted to do. We do the onboardings right now to make sure that people aren't faced with like a blank sheet of paper and wondering what to do, and to learn what are points of friction inside of it. Once we get through, these first few hundred users and make some more tweaks to the app and that kind of thing, then the wait list and onboarding will kind of go away. Very unrelated to 3D printing. You look like the guy on SNL Weekend Update who owns a boat and makes the quick, inappropriate jokes. Oh, guy who just bought a boat? That's an old SNL sketch. I don't even think the dude who does that character works at SNL anymore. Let's see here. Why not matte black instead of simple black for PLA? Matte black looks infinitely better than standard black. First of all, that's a point of opinion. There's the matte black. It comes and goes and it depends on the person. I fully appreciate the fact that matte black does often look pretty darn good. Here's the thing, matte black really jacks with layer adhesion. So I personally don't enjoy it because it messes with the structural integrity of the parts. And the other thing is that in a more practical kind of context, we're lazy, and glossy black PLA is simpler and cheaper to produce. And with Tangled, it's about reducing the cost of filament. So black PLA is cheaper to produce because we don't have to put in other additives, and it creates a better quality product because, again, we're not contaminating it with the high density of carbon black that is thrown in order to make it matte black. Okay. Is there any chance you guys launch the software and make it compatible with printers available on the market? No, we probably won't, because it's the market is too fragmented to where trying to control a Bamboo Lab and a Prusa is just difficult because they're both different. So you have to make two basically forks of the software, or two functionalities inside of there, and then you've got everybody else. And the other thing is that is not our job. We ascribe to the belief that it's our job to make the manufacturing invisible so that people can focus on product design and customer support and creating really great products. Because the 3D printing industry as a whole has focused way too much on the machine and not enough on the part being made. And this is a giant mistake, to where I'm pretty sure that the most successful 3D printing companies will be from people who are not inside the 3D printing industry, because they're not bogged down by the bullshit that the 3D printing industry and community believes that isn't actually true. It's like the idea that, people don't like layer lines. No, 3D printing people don't like layer lines. Normal consumers do not care, so long as your product is fine. And the reason I know that is because we produce more 3D printed parts and products than most people on the planet. And people are buying them, and they're fine. And people are excited and enjoy them a lot. So the idea that layer lines matters is a thing. But yes, the 3D printing industry needs to really focus on the parts to be designed. This kind of stuff. How do you make this really well with 3D printing rather than trying to become injection molding or build a machine that's good enough to make injection molding parts? That's completely useless because there is injection molding. So why would you do that? But yeah, anyhow, we focus on trying to build giant print farms so that other people don't have to. So you can go from 10 parts to 10 million parts and never have to worry about the manufacturing in between. Again, so that you can become Apple and we can be Foxconn. And as Foxconn, you're doing okay. Okay. Let's see here. Most recent. Can people under 18 use your Etsy plugins? We don't have an age restriction on it right now. So yes, anybody can sign up there. Let's see here, pile of stuff coming up. Yeah, I hope there's not an age restriction because quite frankly, one of the things that we always talk about is we're trying to build this so that a kid in a dorm room can make whatever they want. And that can apply to a kid in a bedroom. When I was growing up, if you wanted to manufacture a product, you had to be rich already. So it was basically impossible for a kid to make an item because you had to go find $5,000 of molds and make the thing, or you had to design a spatula. But now you can build a complex mechanism with wheels and twirlies and all that kind of stuff, and something that is really relevant to people, and do it from your bedroom. Like get Tinkercad, design a thing, upload it, go crazy. Let's see here. Build volume. Standard build volume is effectively 8.5 inches or 220 by 220 by 220 cubed. That's the standard build volume right now. Let's see here. Alex Moffat is the SNL. Thanks, Brian. Is that Alex Moffat? Hang on, wait a second. I'm gonna contest that. Guy who just bought a boat. Well, the AI answer is wrong. Oh, it is Alex Moffat. Huh. I could have sworn his name was like, I don't know. I know it's not Pete Davidson, but a name like Pete Davidson or something. Yeah, he left SNL, I think, last year. He just did a movie. Or he was working on a movie. Yeah, cool, fine. Do you guys offer low volume, less than 10 prints? Yeah, go over to the Teleport app or the Prototyper app. On the Slant 3D site, there's Prototyper. You can upload a file, buy 10 pieces. And yeah, if you're doing print on demand or needing to ship them to different places, use the Teleport app. Do practical prints typically sell better or decorative prints? Depends on who you're selling to. Practical prints are really good in this world because they're demonstrable and we live in a world of video media. So anything that you can demonstrate is great. So like right here, I've got like Scott Wujan's phone standby phone clock deal. This thing is brilliant, but it's also just stupidly demonstrable. So it went crazy when he released it. But because it's got just a great demonstration, you pop it, the phone comes out, and then you pop the phone back in and standby mode pops up. It's so good. Man, I don't mean to gush over Scott, but like Scott does great stuff. Scott does really great stuff. I love his design. Also, his cinematography, his video structure, all of it's just fantastic. It's disgustingly good. If you should watch all of his videos just for the art of them, because my goodness, they're good. As far as decorative prints work great. Like here, let me see here. Let's do an exercise here. 5 decorative prints. Molding vases, molding is in like the edges of walls and that kind of stuff, which were normally carved out of wood. You can do those out of prints and then make them paintable. You can do wall art, like the highlight silhouette stuff. That's great stuff. Let's see here. Bookends, bookshelves, just figurines and models that are abstract and cool looking. You can do pet rocks. The type of decorative stuff is really all over the place. But if you focused on like designing like posters, little mini posters, that's a great spot to be in because you can target these really good niches. It's amazing to me. We have a client who does Tesla cookie cutters, and they move a ton of them because they're just riding onto that category, that group of people. So yeah, decorative prints work great and practical prints work great. You just have to know who you're selling to. This is the secret to selling a product. Who is the product for? Know that person. Oh, it's a guy in his wood shop who's a little bit bored who wants to do this. Oh, it's a woman who's looking to decorate a new apartment that she just moved into. Oh, it's a family that is trying to decorate the nursery or whatever it was. Once you know who that person is, you understand how they talk and what they're looking for. And then you put those words into titles. Let's see here. Wow, that's a bunch of stuff. Started a new Etsy store 2 weeks ago. Followed all the advice you gave on Slant 3D and Slant Pod. Got a first sale with $130 revenue on $15 of ad spend for a ROAS of 866. Thank you for the advice. Congratulations, man. That's fantastic. That's a big sale. You must have been multi-parting up on that one. Great job. Yeah, the business model for all of this stuff, for 3D printing in general, is to list as many products as you can as quickly as you can. Not necessarily different products, but variations of products so that you find out what works. We have a video coming out where I kind of talk about this in detail next week. I think it's coming out on Tuesday, actually. But like most people misunderstand the business model of 3D printing. Most people think that 3D printing is about design a product and now 3D printing lets me make it more cheaply. That's not the thing. It allows you to make 100 products more cheaply for free. So now you can try to get 100 at bats so that you can actually be successful, because 9 out of 10 ideas are going to fail. So you have to knock out 100 ideas to get 5 or 10 that are decent. Okay. Will you in future offer electronics assembly and 3D prints? Depends on what you mean by electronics assembly. We have third-party components coming to the Teleport app in the spring. And that'll be the addition of wireless chargers and light bulbs and that kind of stuff. Well, not the addition, the inclusion of, we will not be doing assembly, because we will just be including it in the box, and then you will have to provide IKEA tutorials on your product listing for customers of how to put the charger into the object, whatever it happens to be. The reason for that is because assembly is like a Rubik's Cube. We cannot solve your Rubik's Cube every time you have a new design or a new weirdness to it. So until we know how to integrate everybody's process into our workflows, we can't do assembly, because you're going to say, oh, I need that screw, tighten this hard and put right there, and here's the secret hole, and I moved it over there from the last one, and so on and so forth. So assembly isn't really viable at scale where we're having to ship 1,000 parts a day, or more, as we continue to grow more. So right now, the third-party components will be included in the box, but the end user will have to assemble them. And it will be the responsibility of the seller to communicate how to assemble them. Which is fine, because this model works. IKEA, done. $50 billion a year in revenue. They're doing good. Let's see here, all the things. What is the name of your print farm management software? Kraken? Yes, Kraken. Kraken is our print farm management software, an homage to Octoprint. Not based off Octoprint at all. We just said, well, we're building a giant thing that's kind of like it. Let's call it Kraken. I'd love to get more insight on that. Tesla's Edge is more than their self-developed ERP than any car technology. Yes, Tesla's production management software is fantastically magical. Oh my goodness. It is a huge advantage, because they make 25 changes to their car every day or every week or something. I want to say every day, because that sounds wrong, but it sounds right because it's Tesla. But it's made possible by their software, the Tesla OS. And yes, Kraken is a very similar sort of system. We actually, just this morning, I was working on a spec sheet for an expansion of Kraken, which is an analytics kind of engine that we're calling Dolphin. And it was, it's more decision-making stuff. So I was running through some of the algorithms and that kind of thing around that. And what are key metrics that we need to start tracking with the new iteration. But Kraken decides where our prints go, what machines they go on, and then they tell the meat sacks, hey, I need more filament loaded on this one. which hopefully will get more automated here over the next little while. Our version 14 plus machines were designed to be robotically refilled. We haven't fully implemented that yet, but they have the hardware there to do it. Any plans to expand to the EU as soon as we possibly can? Yes, we want to get a factory set up in the EU. Trying to get it done as soon as we possibly can, as soon as finances and administrative capacity opens up. Quite frankly, we're looking for, I need to know how to phrase this. We're looking for a partner to help with effectively the administration of the creation of the EU entity, and we haven't pulled enough at that thread to get it down there because it's still early stages. There's a lot more that we can do in the States. And actually, if you're an EU user, you should be really excited that we're focusing on the United States because you get access to the whole United States. You get to teleport your items over to the United States without having to ship across an ocean. So it's a fantastic advantage for you, and the US guys can't go the opposite direction. We're working to fix that. Yes, we're working to get a factory in the EU. There's just a lot of dominoes that have to be felled for that whole thing. Are you seeing sales are down? Where? What platform? There's Chris Head. Sales are down. Can you expand on that question? Like us personally, or like across the e-commerce users, or something like that? I'm a teacher and robotics coach. I'm trying to teach my students CAD design using Onshape for 3D printing. What would you suggest? We'll watch all of our videos, show all of our videos in their class. The thing to be learned most with CAD, I don't know. At the high school level, CAD is CAD. So I don't know. Having them design with an end goal rather than learning how to make an assembly, and here's the generic one. This is the fundamental problem that I always had with classes, is that in a class, everybody does the exact same action in order to prove they understand the action. And I understand the necessity for that, but more classes there's kind of like a loss of labor in all of that. Because I remember when I was going through college, I'm like, I'm running this giant differential equation to calculate whatever it is. And I'm like, I could be running this on an actual practical problem and then somebody and have like two other people run it too, so that we check ourselves, but then we could actually like Boeing could hire our class to do the analysis on this wing strut. And each one of us would take some segment of the wing strut and do the analysis, and then they could check it against their engineers and check it against three of us. And that would be more useful. So like practical, an end goal in it. So if they're doing CAD, have them design some part of the robot, rather than here's a block, make 4 holes in it, equally spaced around, so that the application is seen, especially with CAD. With mathematics, I can understand the abstraction, but for CAD, knowing what the result is going to be, I think is really, really important. That's probably more philosophical than you were looking for, and I apologize, but I'm not a CAD teacher. Although, if you're a FIRST robotics team, by the way, I want to pitch an idea since we have a FIRST robotics team coach here. I would like your feedback. With Teleport, we think that there's a way for FIRST teams to do 3D printed merch through Teleport, to where they can have like the design of some part of the robot, and then like parents and supporters and sponsors can buy, they can set up a Shopify store with parts and pieces from the robot, or cool design trophies, or team 3D printed merch, whatever it was. And then people can support the team by buying that 3D printed merch. And then it's like print on demand. Well, it is print on demand, but people can buy 3D printed stuff that is actually closely connected to the robot, rather than just like t-shirts and stuff to sponsor the team. And then the team can learn how to fundraise by building effectively a store with products inside of it. And then people who aren't like designing something on the robot but still want to design an object can design a product to put on that store, so they get that more cohesive sort of part of it. So we're trying to figure out how to finagle that, or how to sponsor teams or introduce teams to that, because we think it'd be really useful for FIRST teams to help fundraise more. And we're trying to figure out how we can structure it so that like we help with that fundraising in some kind of a way. But I'd love feedback on supporting those FIRST teams that way through the Teleport app, to where they can monetize all the design work in order to help sponsor the team. Um, let's see here. In sales, Chris, sales down in general. I can't really speak to it. I don't know. The Christmas season's almost always increased year over year. There was a bit of a downturn from the COVID spike and that kind of stuff over the last couple of years, but it's like 5%. And if you look at like the Amazon numbers and that kind of thing, Amazon increases 10% every year always. They had the giant COVID spike and then everybody came back down over the last 2 or 3 years to re-level back into normal trend. But like, no, sales shouldn't really be down around e-commerce or so. On Etsy itself, Etsy has moved stuff around, but Etsy has also just become much more populated than it was before. So there's a huge amount of competitive headwinds over there for individual stores because there's just so many people doing it on Etsy. And Etsy is still one of the best platforms to do 3D printing on, especially if you have something unique. But if you're in a competitive space, it's brutal. What is your vision for the future of color changing? Do you run any experiments at Slant 3D? Color changing doesn't work and isn't relevant until there is a single bead of white filament going in the back of the machine and colored prints coming out the front. Somebody needs to build an FDM machine with effectively an inkjet on the end of it that colors the filament as it's going by. And that's how you do it. These multi-spool, 4-color, color-changing machines and that kind of stuff is fine for the hobby. It doesn't work at scale because one spool is always empty. You effectively double your machine downtime because the one spool is always empty. You get to move by half spools because this spool is half full and this spool is full. Then that goes half full and the machine stops. And then you fill that one up and now this one goes half full and then the machine stops. And then you multiply that by 4 if you're using equal amounts of filament. Color changing just is not scalable because you can never get the machine to finish the job. So we keep an eye on it and that kind of stuff, but color changing is also a little bit of a red herring because nobody really cares about that outside of the 3D printing world. If you look at traditional manufacturing, paints exist and overmolding exists and that kind of stuff. So there's ways of, or assembling multicolored parts. Like inside a teleport, when we released multi-part and multicolor, in that you can print this file in purple and you can print this file in green and put them together and you have a green lid. That's the multicolor that we do in teleport now. That does a lot to create style and function because again, really good products don't need a lot of color. Right now, everybody's kind of distracted by the shiny fidget toys and that kind of stuff of like, oh, we need more colors. We need the eyeballs to pop out. And it's like, yeah. And for toy design, yeah, you want to get it all in one shot and don't want to have to paint a thing. But like in production, most parts are perfectly fine in one color. And there are billions of dollars of single color parts. Even this thing, like this thing is just screen printed with color on it. It's a marker. And if it was a green marker, everybody would be totally fine with it. So color's a little bit overhyped in the world, well, within the 3D printing community compared to what the world cares about, I would say. Have I ever printed 95A TPU glow in the dark? A lot of 95A. I've never done the glow in the dark stuff. Let's see here. Rolling through stuff, bunch of things. It only costs running through inkjet head for the DaVinci. Yeah, Mamaki makes a full color printer. It costs $250,000, and each print costs about 100, 50 to 100, unless it's itty bitty. But yeah, the Mamaki looks great. But this is again like the differentiation between prototyping and production. You can do anything. We can do anything for like the last 10 years or so. It's a question of, is it scalable and is it useful to people? Like the Mamaki, yeah, it can make a perfectly colored, realistic looking part. But is it useful? No, not beyond prototyping because they haven't hit scale and Mamaki isn't really interested in scale because they sell really expensive machines. That's how they make their margin. They can't sell 1,000 cheap machines because no executive is going to agree to that. They're like, we sell 10 machines right now and we would make the same amount of money as if we sold 1,000 cheap machines. So why would we want to ramp up to make 1,000 cheap machines? It's very much kind of a cultural decision. Like Tesla could have sold sports cars their whole life rather than trying to make the Model 3, which is cheaper, but way harder to produce than a bunch of sports cars that you beat together with a hammer. Let's see here. Other things. Yeah, the Da Vinci stuff. Adam, my biggest problem was that on-shape education restricts usage for profit, so I'm not sure that we could do with that. I probably shouldn't say this, but well, I guess this thing is recorded, but you can use educational licenses for commercial use. Every college kid does that when he sells prints on Etsy. You are in an organization, so you kind of have to adhere to it, but why is creating a Shopify store and selling first parts not an educational experience? The kids aren't profiting from it. It's not an individual profit. It's a fundraising thing for an educational institution. I would imagine that would be fine. Other questions. Let's see here. Well, we'll roll up here. How do you think 3D printing will interact with patent law long term? Ooh, that's an interesting question. How do you think 3D printing on-demand services will interact with patent law long term? So this is interesting. There is a content moderation problem in print on demand. Well, not well. I don't know where the line is going to be drawn because this is really ambiguous. A manufacturer is not responsible for checking the validity of the source. So if somebody, if you go to an injection molder and you say, hey, make a bunch of Mickey Mouse heads or something like that, and you pay them, they're fine with doing that. And they're allowed to do that, and Disney can't, well, Disney can sue everybody, but everybody can sue everybody. But technically, generally it is the person who sourced it. So whoever was selling the Mickey Mouse heads is the one culpable for it. As far as how this applies to patents rather than like copyright stuff, again, it's going to be a point of enforcement to where patent holders are going to have to find people who are ripping off their designs and selling them. Personally, I believe that the world will go much more anti-patent because when the model changes from create a really brilliant idea and sell it for 10 years during the life of your patent to create 100 ideas and find the one that works, I don't think patents are relevant enough anymore because it has nothing to do with if you have the patent. It has to do with if you understand the product and market better than anybody else. So patents are a way of slowing people down and that kind of stuff and can be useful when you're large enough to strategically use them, like you're Apple and you want to stop Samsung from having a touchscreen or whatever it was, just to get an extra year of edge until the settlement comes through and that you know you're going to lose. I don't, in a world where there are a million ideas a moment and many of the 3D printed models could even be AI generated and that kind of stuff, what is the value of the patent? I don't think there is one. Because number one, the courts and the systems are not able to deal with the scale of 40 million 3D printed products coming online tomorrow. Because there's 40 million 3D models on the internet right now. All of those could be turned into a printed product right away. So it's very easy to it's so easy to create stuff that the effort of protecting it will be too great, and people will just spend time on creating stuff. It's like saying, oh, am I going to copyright strike anybody who uses a clip from one of my YouTube videos? No, because number one, them using the clip is really good and promotes it as a whole. Policing it is too much effort. So unless it becomes a really big problem to where it's actively hurting my business, it's generally not bad. And again, there's so much demand out there in the world. So learn how to talk to a group of people and they will trust you more. How many years before you think Slant 3D franchises? I've got cheap power in my region and live within 1 day shipping distance for priority mail, flat rate shipping for the 3 major cities in my state. Franchising is really, really tough. Because there's just all the problems. There's all the problems and none of the control. So until we find the control, we probably won't do it. Now we've thought about like, okay, what would it take for us to allow somebody to purchase our systems or access to our systems, and then we set up the print farm and that person operates them, and are we okay with that? There's a world where that model works, but I don't know. Because like franchises absolutely work well. Like a McDonald's franchise works really well, and McDonald's dictates what the ice cream tastes like and how the mac is made and that kind of stuff. And yet at the same time, I feel like it's slow because deploying all those changes across all the franchisees, I would imagine there would be like contractual limitations on how fast we can implement changes to where having it internal is just faster speed of execution. But I don't know. We haven't gotten that far enough along yet. Franchising might be a way of doing it, but Amazon doesn't franchise warehouses. And a lot of this has to do with scale to where a franchisee, a typical franchise, the average price of a franchise is about $100,000, $150,000, I think. If you're getting a Subway, I think the franchise fee is like $50,000. The franchise fee for Slant 3D Mega Farm would be enormous. It wouldn't work. I don't think it works for that model because it's too big of a lift to do it well. And having small print farms around, you lose scale advantage because we're not moving hamburgers. We're moving really unique parts, and there's a kind of a minimum scale that you have to hit in order to do that effectively. What 3D printed product types or categories would be good to avoid for liability for a startup? Anything copyrighted. Don't make Disney stuff. Don't make Avengers merch or whatever else it was. Kind of the simple stuff like that. Beyond that, make whatever you want. If you can sell it, roll for it. How would you be shipping any insert that would represent my business? Is there a way to calculate costs so I can work on pricing to see if this makes sense? For Fireplace, onboarding. What is shipping? Shipping is USPS or whatever carrier works for the application. Right now, shipping inside of Teleport is set for cheapest. So it'll go, if you're send a 50-pound order, it's probably going to go via UPS. If you're going international, it'll go by the international carrier that works. Like right now with Canada, we use like Global Post in order to avoid the UPS strikes and make sure orders are still going through. We're not even allowed to use post office into Canada anymore because it's just not available. The boxes are standard black boxes. You do not get to select inserts. Not get to submit inserts. It's a cardboard box. I recommend going to the Teleport FAQ video. We go through all this, or slantpod.com, and we run through all of this stuff. But yeah, generic brown box, paper deading, and your part inside of it. And that's the way to do it. Quite frankly, more people should like hack the part inside of it, because you could basically make like a 3D printed tag or note card that prints alongside your part. And that could be like your note that's included inside of there, like your URL or something. We should do a video about that, actually. How to effectively label your parts or hack the system and get an insert into the box by printing like a business card, the 3D printed business card, along with the actual print, so that we have to include it because it's part of the print. So that's how you can get an insert into there, rather than having to have a paper or thing or something submitted there. Do you still buy 3D printed products from new Etsy shops with zero sales? Not right at the moment. We've done a batch of them. A bunch of them are in there. We're doing reviews of them. We're waiting for a few of them to arrive. There were some snafus, but we're trying to bring that program back. What we would like to do, though, is actually like start up like a Patreon to where everybody can like pool money, and we'll just buy each other's Etsy stuff or something like that. I think it's a really good kind of co-op to where it's like, commit $5 a month or something like that, and we use whatever the Patreon creates to go buy stuff from Etsy stores that have no sales, and let that grow, because it's a really cool thing to do. And then we can show off those products and give the stores more light. That'd be nifty. Why did you stop using Shaper 3D? We still use Shaper. We just don't film with it very often anymore. It just depends on the kind of the team preference. So like Shaper is for the guys who want to use like Max and that kind of thing. Or if you want fast ideation, Shaper's really, really great. But then we brought on a new team member who uses a lot of Autodesk Fusion. They're like, fine, we use Autodesk Fusion a lot, so we use that, and yeah, is what it is. Or anything that gets attached via it. Any tips on attaching items to 3D prints? Such as Velcro, feet, that kind of stuff. Have thick glue. Otherwise, it just adheres to the outer edges of the print lines, and then you have lower surface contact area. If using glue, texture the bottom of the holes so that it has more surface area to connect to. I think we went through this in our glue slots video. We talked a little bit about this, about how to make stuff stick. Okay, let's see here. Big Tree Tech microcontrollers. We don't do printer reviews, guys. I have no idea what anybody else is doing. Yeah, we don't review machinery or hardware or even keep track of it and that kind of stuff. I mean, we do design reviews of our machines and that kind of thing, but we don't then really do reviews. Let's see here. Other questions. We're coming up on end of time. That's good. You know, this thing is technically scheduled for like a half hour, and it always goes for an hour. So thank you all for sticking around and watching. I don't think there's anything else that like we need to go over. Was too big to fit the spool. What do you mean by too big to fit the spool? What, like the cord didn't fit on it or so? Matt Pet G. I don't know if I've ever interacted with Matt Pet G. I don't have any recommendations on where to find it or where it is there. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have the guys check the design on the spool holder, but like the that spool holder we have mounted up in a couple different places. We have a video on the channel talking about that spool holder, and it's holding one of those spools. So maybe the design got snafu'd or somebody pulled like the wrong version or something there for the file, but it's a free file. We'll get it updated. Yeah, oh, this is an interesting point. AMS spool compatibility. I think everybody's missing the thing on this. The spools for the AMS, I don't believe have to go in the top of the AMS. So we're right now we have the guys we're gonna do, and I'm sure there's other ones around, but basically a wall-mounted spool holder with a bar through the middle, where you can put 4 spools of any size and any type above your Bamboo Lab, and then just feed them straight down into the AMS, and then you don't have to deal with does it fit in the slot. It's kind of hacky, but it's good, and then you can put 3 kg spools into the Bamboo Lab, which is, it's hilarious that we have these high-speed printers and we still use 1 kg spools. That is still comical to me, because I'm like, oh, it consumes twice as fast, and now we have spools exactly the same size. Yep, that's right. I've been talking a lot. I am parched. We never use 3D pens inside of our place. When do you find a 3D print useful? Yeah, we don't use them at all. Are you guys still thinking about offering product photography service within Teleport? Yeah, that'll be coming in the spring. I guess my wife's jealous sometimes because of how much I talk about you. Well, thank you for watching. Really appreciate that. It's cool that we're getting into everybody's homes. Do you have Bamboo Labs printers? No, we use our internal machines. We can't use off-the-shelf machines because you can't build a factory on consumer machines. If we used a Bamboo Lab machine in 18 months, they'd be irrelevant or broken. A consumer machine is meant to run 1 print, maybe a day or a week for a year or 2. We're a commercial farm. We run 24/7, 365. Consumer machines can't stand up to that. You have to use them as consumables if you do that, and that's kind of expensive. We continually test and reevaluate this, so we keep everybody's machines around, just doing benchmarking and kind of endurance testing and that kind of stuff against it, because we want backups. In any sort of business, you always want backups for any of your systems, even if you do it internally yourself. Because what if our factory has the power line break or whatever else it was and we can't get more machines? Well, then we would like to have a supplier to where we can purchase machines from, and then we have buffer. So we always think about that. We're constantly paranoid of like, if this goes down, what is the backup? So yeah, we keep track of everybody else's machines so that we have a potential backup. Are there any red flags to avoid when submitting a quote request to Slant 3D? I reached out in September via the get a quote form for several thousand brackets, but never heard back. The brackets might be unmanufacturable. The volume might be too low. It might not be at the minimum job size. Um, uh, you might have a Gmail. um, no, the sales team, it is, there's so many requests that come through the quoting form. Some just fall through the cracks, and they're manually reviewed. So folks that sometimes just get missed. And the sales team is super backlogged on it all. So I don't know what the secret would be. You have to make sure that your project qualifies as a project. If the parts are too small or the project is too small or something like that, it'll very often get kind of ignored because the guys just have to deal with the other stuff. And we have the prototyper app where you can get 0 to 100 or maybe even 1,000 parts produced in the prototyper, and it'll auto quote it for you too. So there's a way out there for the smaller jobs. How will you design a wing holder for an RC plane? No idea. Haven't looked at a wing holder for an RC plane. Thoughts on the new Prusa printer? The customizable aspect looks like it's delayed response to the P1P. We don't give machine reviews. But I do with it what you will. I guess I did talk about this on podcast, so I probably should talk about it there. Yeah, it's a reaction to the P1P. I think it's a fine machine. Prusa's in an interesting moment because we're going to see how they continue to operate because it's a new paradigm right now. But anyhow, if you're running 24/7, do you have the factory manned 24/7 monitor prints? We have the factory manned 18 hours a day. That is all that's really necessary. But we also have just heavy levels of automation. Very early on in Slant 3D, automation was very important from the start because we knew you can't have people staring at every part in order to do this well. Do you guys need a cybersecurity guy? I would love to combine my career or passion. Not right at the moment, I don't think. But I don't know. We'll wait until we get hacked, and then we're like, well, now we need a cybersecurity guy. Do you ship to Europe? Yes, we ship to Europe. We got about 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left or so. And then we're gonna have to call it. Life hold, no problem. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for coming on the stream. Are there topics or is there something that you guys want to do with the stream? Obviously, it's set up as QA right now, but yeah, give opinions of what would you want. Is there anything? Oh, sorry, I'm bumping tables and stuff. Is there anything you'd like to see around here? Let's see here. Do you think closed loop stepper servo or lower the power consumption and heat creation in a large scale print farm? What about cryo grip plates? That's a lot of stuff. Any new feature or new component has to do a cost benefit analysis. How much does it cost? How much new benefit does it give to us? And it's always contextual based on the situation. So like closed loop control is great if it's affordable, but very often it quintuples. Like the cost of the motor or something. So it's just not great. But yeah. Will you allow submissions to third-party parts that will be added to Teleport? Could I design a circuit board that could be offered for people to add to their prints? Depends on the circuit board. If somebody's designed, that's an interesting idea. Teleport most certainly is kind of turning into a platform to where like there's synergistic benefits around there. If somebody wanted to design a light module and manufacture it and deliver it to us, that'd be sick. If there's or like a mouse kit or something like that. I don't know what it would be. So, mouse kits and lamp bulbs already exist. But yeah, if you were making a third-party component that is cool and enables a new product category, we would absolutely consider it for Teleport. Beyond that, yes, absolutely. Anybody can tell us or send us an email anytime about whatever. Tell us anytime about whatever of objects to add to this. I can't talk. I'm losing my mind. I think I got like 3 thoughts in my head, and I don't have them controlled. Anybody can make suggestions about any one of our apps, and we will look at it and see it. We won't always respond, but we try to read and absorb all the information we can. So if there is something you want in Teleport, let us know. We will do it. And if you have something that's cool and want to submit it, we will take a look at it. Okay. Luban, tons of people use it for giant models. Oh, Lubon is the big part splitter app software thing. You can use Lubon. Like Lubon's available. You can break it into parts and then you can upload all those parts to the system. So there, integrated. Do you think you can automate the whole process? We can automate machine to box. And most of that is automated right now, so long as the part is designed appropriately to where it doesn't need like support removal. Support removal is really, really difficult. But yeah, support removal is really, really difficult to automate because it's such a human type of task. Our belief is that support removal will become less of a necessity as time goes by because it's just not necessary. If people design their parts well enough, there shouldn't be any support, and if support is necessary, it should be designed in. Automated support is where all the problems come from, and it shouldn't be around. But alrighty, guys, that's into thing. We gotta go on to stuff because we got Christmas run down there, and I gotta go back down onto the factory and talk to the guys about stuff. We got to make sure we're taking care of y'all and getting the parts out the door. But thank you all for coming online. Great to see y'all. We're going to continue doing this. We were planning on doing these weekly shows, weekly live streams, only through the Christmas season. But quite frankly, I think it works to where we can just keep it going continuously because I do enjoy the live interaction. And I think it's really, really useful for people to get a close look at us in without editing or preparation or posting or any of the rest of that stuff. And it's a nifty way to get access of like if you have a question about something and like you missed it or you don't have time or you can't get through or whatever else it was, this is a great way to get a hold of some of that stuff. Alrighty. Well, thanks again. I'll see you all later and have a good day, everybody. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving if you're in the States. I know it's like past that, but I hope you had a good weekend. See ya.